Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Ladies, gentlemen, friends, foes, lurkers, regulars, GMO people, organic people.
Boiler room. Inbound. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, friends and foes, lurkers and regulars, welcome to the Boiler Room. I'm your host. My call sign is Hesher, out here at Alternate Current Radio. I'm Brian McLean, broadcasting live this April the 3rd, 2025, tonight for this meeting of the Social Rejects Club. Let me make sure I'm in the right chat. Yep, okay, wonderful. We've got a chat room going, a live channel over there on our Discord server. So if you're not on our Discord server, feel free to go become a member over there. It's there's an invite on our main menu at our website. Our website is alternatecurrentradio.com. See, there it is right there. Alternate, not alternative. Alternate Current Radio. Now, let's see here. First, a little bit of housekeeping. I don't know what our future is on Spreaker. We use the least amount of monetization on that platform as possible to not have a bunch of commercials triggering. And we used to make sometimes up to like $350 a month on Spreaker back in the heyday. And it has gone down and down and down. The more true crime podcasting and alien and UFO podcasts and highly monetized podcasts became the thing over there. Oh, and they changed the way that they do their metrics. We're down to making $18 at Spreaker a month at most. So thanks, Spreaker, for that. We're definitely shopping around right now, seeing as we can't have live streams over there, and the monetization is absolute peanuts. I want to thank John K. I want to thank Some Dumb Pollock. I want to thank EF. I want to thank our patrons. Our Patreon is down to 300 and like $320, $325, depending month to month. So for those of you that are patrons, thank you very much for sticking in there. I want to thank Creative Accidents. I want to thank Derpscan, Eileen, Benjamin, Kathleen, Timothy, that's Timmer, Francisco, and anyone else that may have chipped in there. I think that's most of them. I also want to thank Badger and our parents and a couple of you that I know I must have forgotten who have helped keep ACR going over the year. That's I go a little further back. There was some very generous people in November and December. Thank you guys also. But yeah, being a listener supported thing, that's what we do over here. And those are the people that are keeping the lights on, and we sure appreciate it. So thank you to you folks. Now, let me bring everybody else into the room here. I've got two of my colleagues with me tonight. I've got Ruckus and mystical Pharaoh with me. Ruckus, welcome to the Boiler Room. How's it going, man?
Good. I just barely got the notification out there, so hopefully people will be piling in now and hitting the like and the share on all the social medias and all the things, and joining our Discord chat, which you find a link to that at the website, alternatecurrentradio.com. But yeah, happy to be here on a Boiler Room. We got like a lot of people here this. Oh no, we don't. It's just the three amigos this evening, so that's cool. Last time we did that, I think we went like 3 hours, right? So yeah. We always come in like, what are we going to talk about? I don't know. And then it's like this epic conversation. So I'm looking forward to where it leads us this evening, my friend. Not looking forward to checking my cryptocurrency and my stocks later because from what I can tell, I don't want to do that without being sent to the emergency room. I'm shocked. Thanks a lot, Mr. Trump. Anyways, we'll get into all that, I'm sure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, maybe hold off on checking those balances as we roll into the age of neo-mercantilism here. We're going to experience some turbulence on the way in, it looks like. So let's say hello to Mystical Pharaoh as well. Mystical Pharaoh, what's up? Welcome to the Boiler Room.
Thanks, man. How are you guys doing?
Very good. Very good. Glad to be here with you, man. How are things out there in Tennessee? The storm, there have been some crazy storms rolling through your neck of the woods.
There has been, but gladly I survived them. But I'm glad that we're here this week and got a chance to hang out with our audiences.
Yeah, absolutely. One more quick piece of housekeeping before we launch here tonight. Myself and Basil Valentine and Limbic and a few others, Tim Bochet, are broadcasting over at The Pulse. I want to also direct your attention over to thepulse.today. I'm there live Monday through Friday doing a 2-hour radio broadcast. So we're going old school, taking the stripping it down to its most essential parts, the microphone and my voice, and there you go. So doing news over there, daily news over there at thepulse.today. That's the website. So if you want to get out there and join us over there, we'll be there. Basil's been doing this for a few weeks now, a good 6 weeks, I think. So you can find him on the Pulse video feed. And if you want to listen to the radio show that myself and Timothy Shea are doing, go to the pulse.today and then click on Pulse Radio 2. So we are working our hardest to see if we can't resurrect and bring today's news talk back to its former glory. And we're having a glorious time doing it. So that's another outlet that needs your support. So anyone that's subscribed over there, I want to thank them as well, since we're coming in with some thanks today. But let's see here. I haven't checked the icebreaker room. Either of you guys been in there?
There's something I just want to say. There's something mystical about like old school radio. I still enjoy actually just tuning into like old school like radio on my car when I'm driving.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Absolutely. I enjoy doing it, like it's sort of, back to roots for me. We were disembodied voices on the internet for many, many years. I loved it. I thought it was great.
I understand that a lot of folks do these videos like I do sometimes, and you just play it in the background and you just listen. But it's different. You always get that temptation and you want to look, and then the presenter oftentimes does things that are exclusive for the viewing audience. There's something about just going back to just a good old-fashioned podcast. That's why I enjoy listening to like the Odd Man Out podcast and Mystical American Patriot Society. It's literally all the visuals are in your head, if there are any at all, and it's perfect background stuff to listen to and learn, and you can do other things. It seems less distracting, and you can actually focus more on the conversation and the content, I think, when it's audio only. So that's pretty neat. Shout out to you for doing that.
Yeah, and Hesher has a good voice, so it will give you good visual without any visual.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I like doing it. I'm really hoping to see the Pulse become very successful too, because I know when that happens, we'll be getting a lot of the band back together. I've talked to management about that, and they really want to, get back to where we were. So we're setting up doing everything we can over there to set up a stream of income so that we can do that. I also want to thank William S. William S. has been someone that's helped ACR out many times. And gotten us out of some hot water on a few months there. So William, if you're out there, really want to thank you on behalf of Alternate Current Radio and 21st Century Wire. I know you're very active on both those platforms, so we really appreciate you. Okay, well, let's see. I'm just going to go with the first one in the icebreaker suggestions here. It looks like this is the kind of thing we can get in and out of pretty quickly also. So this one's interesting. Let me put it on screen here. We're going to share this one. It's from dreaded Reddit. Man had sex with Tesco valued lasagna. Sex with Tesco valued lasagna blistered my bell end. So I don't know. Did that lead to a lawsuit? I can't read the text any further than that. All we got to go on is the headline, but that's pretty good stuff. So you don't want to blister your bell end having sex with the Tesco value lasagna, I suppose.
This is a poor sequel to American Pie. This is what Netflix does. It ruins everything.
What's a Tesco lasagna? Not to be that ignorant.
Frozen lasagna, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Like a microwave lasagna.
Like a brand.
I think it's like store brand, like the cheapest lasagna you can buy, right?
Oh, come on.
Okay.
Well, that's why you need to buy your lasagna with meat already in it.
Right? Okay, I tell you what. Since that one was so easy to get through and so short, let's do the next one up also. Thanks Kilowatt for that one. This one comes from Brian S. This is I hadn't seen this one yet, so here's the headline. Manic Mickey, urgent tourist warning as pics show Mickey Mouse pose with beaming fans moments before launching a horror knife rampage. My goodness, this was published March 20th, 2025. The menacing mouse is reportedly threatening and extorting money from tourists. A Mickey Mouse lookalike is being hunted by the police after reportedly threatening tourists with a knife. Terrified tourists have taken to social media to warn others about the street crook posing as the Disney character in Naples, Italy. There you go. I guess that is an actual picture of the psychotic, menacing Mickey Mouse lookalike. There he is in.
Am I the only one that actually think that Mickey Mouse, even in its regular form, is just creepy and psychotic, and I never liked it since I was a kid?
No, there's reasons. You've got a good intuition there, man.
Oh, I know. When I read the history of that, I was like, oh, shit, I guess I had intuition.
This is a terrible side effect of Trump's tariffs. Things are rough. I read this story, actually, and it's not as menacing as it sounds. I guess the dude just goes around and poses, and he tries to ask money for pictures. And I guess when some people, apparently once or twice, allegedly, refuse to give him money, he whips out a knife and says, pay me. I took a picture with you. Pay me money. So I don't know. But the headlines in the story sure does make it sound like he's running around terrorizing everyone with a knife. I think he's only terrorizing people who refuse to be nice to him after posing with their children, So, hey, what's a mouse to do? Times are tough.
Yeah. Reciprocal terror, right? We live in the age of neo-mercantilism, so Mickey's got to be industrious, and if he's to take on some mob tactics, then so be it, I guess. Here's the bottom line. If a beloved character from cartoon or film or anything, street actor, ever asks you if you want to take their picture, your picture with them, you'd best be asking them, what does that cost, before you jump to the opportunity and say yes, because you know what? Spider-Man might pull a knife on you in Hollywood, or the Tin Man might, kick you in the groin. I mean, this is quite common, actually. Although, threatening bodily harm with a deadly weapon is not good.
Mike Tyson might bite your ear off.
Yeah, Mike Tyson might take a bite out. So, yeah, this Mickey Mouse comes with a knife. One person writes, let's see, one TikToker user posted a picture of her young daughter with the Mickey Mouse impersonator. She wrote, I was super excited and had my daughter take a picture with Mickey Mouse. Only now have I discovered that he goes around with a knife and will take it out on anyone who doesn't give him money. Thank God we escaped. I wonder if she paid him or if he just felt bad because she had a kid. Maybe he's a discerning.
Who's the victim here? See, I think the mouse is the victim.
I mean, pay the damn mouse, people. God.
Well, did he tell them that you have to pay me if you take a picture with me?
Right. Do you get told up front? I mean,
they have to. If not, then
mystical Pharaoh. Ain't nothing in this life for free, my friend. Nothing. Not even a picture with Mickey Mouse on the streets.
And these ones in Hollywood, I can speak with firsthand experience. They don't tell you how much it costs before it happens. This happened to Jay Dyer. Remember Jay Dyer telling the story about taking the picture with the actor from Beastmaster, and then the guy shaking him down for $15.
They warned us about this in Terminator, right?
Yeah. Yep. There's been a number of there's a racket of people. I just learned this recently. There's like this sort of clique of, like, I guess a subsection of paparazzi that figure out where musicians are on tour, and they stalk them, and then they show up with like a stack of posters like this big, like 150 of them, and be like, will you sign this, will you sign this, will you sign this? And they just sit there, and they were doing it to Chino Marino of Deftones, and he like you could tell he had had enough. He was like, all right, that's it. I'm never fucking doing this again. And he walked away, but he's just sitting there like, you guys are following me all over the place. Apparently this has happened to Dave Grohl and others too. And these guys, like, there's a whole cottage industry where these like paparazzi types follow people around, and they harvest as many like signatures they can get from these people, and then they sell them on eBay.
Autograph scalpers.
Autograph scalpers. There you go. Yeah. So, I wonder what they get for those autographs, because it sounds like they're actually like driving or flying, to interstate to follow them. Wonder.
It's an eBay scam.
Yeah, it is pretty much. All right, yeah. So we got a knife wielding Mickey Mouse. Every picture of this Mickey Mouse too. Check it out. Almost every picture is wearing rainbow colors. The rainbow suit. I don't think that one was actually.
He's got the rainbow glitter on his face too.
Yeah, rainbow glitter on his face, and you can't really see it because it's cut off. But it says trolling across.
How do we know it's a dude in the mat inside there? By the way, we don't.
No, that's true. Women don't generally gravitate to physical violence with an edged weapon, but you never know these days.
Are you a masketologist?
I'm not a biologist, so I can't answer.
So, Hesher, to answer your question, it goes anywhere from like $80 all the way to $200. It is one for Val Kilmer autographed signed Top Gun for $199.
That's all on the week of his death. Rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace, Val Kilmer, because I like Val Kilmer.
Dude, I figured that'd be going for $10K.
I know.
I better get my Stephen King books ready just in case.
Case what? Someone runs him over while he's jogging?
That's already happened.
We'll back.
I've seen pictures of that. He does not look well. I hate to say that, but
no, he
something's wrong with Mr. King.
Does not look like he's thriving physically, does he?
And I know he's fully boosted.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he was big on that. Man, okay. So speaking of which, let's test the boundaries here on the YouTubes a little bit. I was looking at this story the other day, and let me see if I can bring it up here. Holy, how many links does a guy look at in a day? Still scrolling, trying to get to Wednesday. Wow.
Excuse me, did you see the show notes on the last episode of the Daily Ruckus, sir?
Yeah, but that was like 30 days of scrolling, I think, man. That was nuts. All right, so yeah, go ahead and shout that one out while I look for this. Make sure people know it's out, man. It's still relatively new.
Yeah, in case you missed it, there's like an epic 4-hour long, and I mean epic, episode of the Daily Ruckus. You might need to take it in sections, but it's okay. It's pretty much naturally sectionized, so I highly encourage you to check it out. The title of the episode is part 12 of the 12 Days of Ruckus, so it's the last part of that previous series I was doing, but it's its own series now. So it's part 1 of a 3-part series called 12 Bummers Coming. And you can find that at the website. Just go there, alternatecurrentradio.com, or you can click the little hamburger menu and find my show page and get to it right away. So, and I have it posted up on my X. You'll find it on the Rumble. If you're on Rumble, you just search for Daily Ruckus, by the way. You'll find a bunch of my stuff up there, all hosted through Boiler Room's page, of course. But you would never know because Hesher did something badass for me. Thanks for that. He made a nice little bucket, basically my own page for it. So that was cool. So, yeah. Just search Daily Ruckus on Rumble. If you can't find the website, but you can find the website, alternatecurrentradio.com. More people need to do that, I think.
Yeah, we need you to visit and check it out. And you can email us. You can email me, Hesher at Alternate Current Radio, Ruckus at Alternate Current Radio, Spore at Alternate Current Radio. We have those 3 email addresses floating around. Mystical Pharaoh, we need to get you one of those one of these days here. All right, let's see here. So
he just changed his name on us again.
I know. Mystical Pharaoh, by the way, I'm conforming to the new name. Okay. So the tags are all changing on the shows. So you're going to be one of those characters that if I'm looking for something, a show that you were on, I have to search Infidel Pharaoh BC and then Mystical Pharaoh AD.
Sorry for the confusion, guys.
That's all right. This
Promise
is
it's not going to happen.
I don't trust it. He's gone through this transformation process and is mystic. Are you a 33rd degree Freemason, sir? As you would tell me. Have you been enlightened, illuminated? Just kidding.
33rd degree social reject. All right. So let's see here. So I thought this was interesting here. I was talking on my show at the Pulse about remdesivir, and just to stick to the facts here for the fact checkers out there, there was a report that came out that was generated from a series of Freedom of Information Act requests, and it was revealed that across the Department of Defense, that 601 of 941 patients who died between March 2020 and March 2024 were treated with something called remdesivir. You may have heard of it. So this is 63.9%. So of that 941 patients who died, between March 2020 and March 2024, over 4 years, 64%, 63.9, almost 64% had remdesivir. And there's a widow of a retired Air Force veteran from England Air Force Base, and she lost her husband of 44 years back in August of 2020. And she has decided to go public with her husband's story. So they suspected he was sick, and this was in the summer of 2020 when, the fear was at its height. And she drove him to the emergency room about 5 days after he started feeling bad. And he was an Air Force veteran, so England Air Force Base was where his hospital was. And she says, quote, "When I parked the car, he walked in under his own power, but when I got to the door, they wouldn't let me in." So, we talked about that a lot, that kind of thing happening in 2020, whether it was a funeral, a birth, someone not well. A lot of people experienced that. So she waited outside for 3 hours and finally received a phone call to say that he was being admitted. And then she says, this day was the last time I ever saw him. So she goes on to describe his experience in there, and it's pretty disturbing. Oh, I like the avatar change there, Infidel. That's good. It's good to have some muscle in the boiler room. But anyway, I thought those numbers were pretty stark. I'll hold my opinions on them. I've already given them ad nauseum over the years, but it is interesting to see people coming out and starting to talk about this stuff 4 years later, 5 years later now.
Yeah, I think there is more and more will come, especially with the cancer data that's coming out now too, dude. It's really interesting. I was watching I didn't watch the whole episode, but Tucker just did an episode with Dr. Mary Bowden. She's one of the doctors that was ostracized by like treating people with ivermectin. She treated 6,000 people that became perfectly healthy.
Mm-hmm.
She shared some pretty disturbing number. Like in the virus right now, there's 38,000 deaths related to the COVID vaccine. Just in virus, and completely ignored. Like this is a government website right now, so I'm looking forward to see what Kennedy is going to do. There's 9 million children now in US have received COVID vaccine, because now a 9-month-old have to take 3 shots in their vaccine schedule by 9-month-old, which is crazy. This is insanity.
All 3 for the COVID?
Yes, dude. By 9 months, they take 3 shots of COVID.
That's madness, man. That is
With
madness.
all the data that talks about myocarditis, and this is and for this age group, it's still under like emergency authorization. It's not FDA approved for under 12 years old.
Is RFK Jr. looking into this?
What's that?
Well, I'm hoping so.
Oh yeah.
I hope so. I thought that he's gonna at least pause it until he find more evidence, right? But it's still on the vaccine schedule.
Yeah, having something that's emergency authorized on the schedule is beyond problematic, especially with all the looming questions here. And that woman that you mentioned, that doctor you mentioned, she is one of, if not the author of Dissolving Illusions, which is definitely something that should be on folks' bookshelves for sure. So I was really pleased to see that. I still need to watch it in its entirety, but I've been following her for years, so I pretty much know what she's going to tell him.
But remdesivir was Fauci baby drug, if you guys remember, right?
Yeah.
Because he attacked everybody that was talking about hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin. Like, no, this is like horse tranquilizers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And no, go take remdesivir, right?
Yeah.
And more death happened from remdesivir.
Well,
it's crazy.
It is crazy, man. I mean, okay, check it out. I'll go a little further, just so that we're talking facts here, and I'll provide some receipts. So she was able to maintain, going back to this woman's story, she was able to maintain contact with her husband for the 4 days following his admission, and according to him, his health had improved during that time. She said they were watching him for the critical days of 5 through 9. She was told that. More random gobbledygook, voodoo algebra, obviously. But on the 6th day, things were starting to look worse, particularly with his breathing. She said, quote, at around 7 o'clock in the morning of the 9th day, I received a phone call informing me that my husband was going to die that day. And the quote, and she said that she was told that her husband was going to suffer from a quote major heart attack, quote unquote major heart attack, and that he had also agreed to a DNR, a do not resuscitate, as well as comfort care. So later that afternoon, she was informed that her 67-year-old husband, who was previously in decent health, passed from respiratory failure. And she said, I was angry that he was alone. No patient should ever be alone without support or an advocate. And she likened the circumstance to inhumane solitary confinement. Now, with regard to her husband's death, it has been clearly determined that the use of remdesivir can result in many potential organ-based adverse events, including, okay, and now I'm going to switch to ncbi.nlm.nih.gov. Okay, so this is an official government source here, not my opinion. When you look at the adverse effects, I'm going to read directly from it right here for a second. Based on a review of available literature from randomized clinical trials, the following are the potential organ-based adverse effects reported with the use of remdesivir. in the category of cardiovascular, hypertension, arrhythmias, and cardiac arrest. In the category of pulmonary, we've got acute respiratory failure, acute respiratory distress, pneumothorax, and pulmonary embolism. And blood-wise, hematologically, anemia, lymphopenia, and coagulopathy, whatever that is. As far as endocrine, you have hyperglycemia. And as far as infections go, pneumonia. So again, acute respiratory failure, pneumothorax, pneumonia, cardiac arrest, all listed as potential organ-based adverse effects reported with the use of remdesivir, quoting the NIH.gov website. That's in publication NBK 563261. So doing my best to stick to the facts here so that all the manual checkers out there at YouTube know. We are simply reading what's publicly available here. This was an anecdotal story. Unfortunately, there are many, many, many of them that we've been hearing over the years. For example, if you follow Dr. William Mackis on X, it is a constant torrent of information like this and anecdotal experiences. So I just wanted to get
For the records, we are not a pharmacologist.
We are not a pharmacologist, a biologist, a climatologist, or a Egyptologist. Wait, no, one of us might be sort of closer than we are, at least.
I'm not, but I can tell you that this whole pyramid thing is bullshit.
Oh, dude,
I forgot about that.
Tell me all about it, dude. Tell me your thoughts on this.
Do you want to get into this now, or we can go later?
Oh man, I don't. Whatever, dude. Go for it. I mean, are you telling me that's not the control center down there for liftoff?
Yeah, like 2 miles, like down underground.
Oh, wait, okay. First off,
I'm not saying it's aliens, but
tell us what they discovered. Tell us your impression of what they discovered.
Well, I mean, the group has been like, they actually published a paper, tried to publish a paper back in 2019 and got shut down. Something similar. And everybody criticized their way of reconstruction that they used. Now they made, more claims of using this AI to do that reconstruction, using some radar like information that they capture from space. My point is number one, the method itself scientifically there is no merit for it whatsoever. They did not publish anything. It just they made this news conference, and all of a sudden, like, dude, like, just went with it, like, on YouTube. Sorry, on X. I've seen it on X, and then Alex Jones jumped on it, and other shows, Redacted, and all these guys, right? Hey, like, the biggest discovery in, like, the history of, like, mankind, and nobody verified methods or anything, and the whole thing even doesn't make sense. Why would you have, like, 2 mile? Yeah, here you go. And they did not reveal data that proves that find or anything, by the way. But yeah, there is nothing right now out there that actually confirmed this. They have not published this in any peer reviewed that other people looked at it, and it's just people are just running wild with it in some circles. So I call bullshit on it.
It's Dr. Zahi Hawass who said this is ridiculous, right?
Yeah, Zahi Hawass said it's ridiculous. Yeah, I mean,
he says everything's ridiculous if it doesn't.
It is. I'm not a big.
I'm
not a big Zahi Hawass fan, by the way, but he was right on this one.
All right. I find it interesting about these columns that there's 8 of them, because I think there's some esoteric symbolism related to the ancient mysticisms related to the number 8, but I have to do some more digging into that. No pun intended.
So all we have is waves collected by radar analyzing Doppler centroid abnormalities. I mean, no one's dug anywhere. There's no. I mean, isn't that the worst part of this problem, Mystical Pharaoh, is that, like, Egyptology is such a freaking scam, and it's just got all these firewalls built around it. Like, it's not allowed to, like, of all the ologies out there involved with archaeology, it really feels like we're getting the short end of the stick on Egypt. Would you agree with that?
I do, and I think it's the reason is there's a lot of lore around it, right? But I mean, my sister is an Egyptologist, and she's studying that, and she's doing her PhD there in Egypt. But she's studying more on the history of certain religious texts and so on. But I think the lore around like aliens and trying to demystify the theory of building the pyramids or who built it, right, has always captured people's imagination. And I think there will be a lot of I don't think that's going to go anywhere, right? But there is there is other lures like for like Atlantis, right, and some of those other ancient civilization.
Sure, Hollow Earth,
Hollow Earth, right?
Yeah, we got.
Yeah, but this one is just as you said, right? They claiming like some radar data, and number one, the radar doesn't actually penetrate that much. So then they were saying is, well, we looked at the reflection of the radar, and that give us basically some ideas about composition of what's the vibration. They basically measured the vibration coming out from the earth and beneath, and they fit this to an AI that was able to reconstruct those images that shows what structures underneath ground, right? And then they came up with those columns that you see. There's, I don't know if that article had that heat map image or not.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's let me see here.
So you're saying that was AI generated?
Yeah. That's what their new method is. Just they fit the raw data to an AI to reconstruct that image. But in their previous paper that they published in 2019, they tried to validate the method, and and actually they did not find the right correspondence.
There's a couple more below that, Hesher, too.
Okay, so there's one right there. Researchers believe there are other structures reaching more than 4,000 feet below the surface. Scans captured structures extending along the northern side with a tuning fork shape. There's another one right there.
By the way, there is a lot of aquifers actually in that area, because it used to have water in ancient times, right? So even if there is anything, there can be some maybe aquifers underground, and that they might be capturing those hollow structures. But it's not. I don't believe Egyptians dug 4,000 feet underground.
All I want to know is this enough information to inspire a brand new episode of Ancient Aliens? I've been missing that show.
Oh, it's still around, man. Oh, look at that. Mark Anderson's joined. I mean, Mike Rapone, singer, joins us. What's up, Mike?
That's pronounced Mike Raffone.
Oh, Raffone. I got you.
Mike,
okay.
Mike, check.
I'm a retired lounge singer.
Check 1, 2. All right. Good to see you, man. How you doing?
Good to be seen. I'm okay. Just had a huge steak dinner. Oh, it was a feast.
Nice.
What kind of steak?
A delicious kind. I came up for air only a couple of times. It was a filet mignon.
Oh, nice.
All right.
Yep. I indulged. So what's the latest scuttlebutt, gentlemen?
Well, steak's always a good lead into some boiler room. We're just sitting here talking about Egypt, Egyptology, and these fresh claims that they've used radar reports that generate images similar to this one here to make the claim that there is these big chambers under some of the pyramids in Egypt. And I was asking Infidel Pharaoh, like, what's up with Egyptology? Because not so much, and that wasn't to cast shade against people like your sister there, Mystical Pharaoh, because that sounds like legit Egyptology to me that she's doing. But like, just in general, there seems to be so much gatekeeping when it comes to the archaeological, the allowance of archaeological digs and exploring, and it seems like they could dispel a lot of theories if they would be a little bit more forthcoming. But maybe the whole point is what you said, like having all that mystery is actually beneficial to tourism and all that kind of stuff.
I think so. I think that's a good point. It's having that almost like cult, right? It's it generate interest to come and visit those mysterious sites.
Right. It's kind of like if we were to do what so many people have done and put all of our time, money, and effort into proving or disproving the existence of the Loch Ness monster. If we got close enough to doing that in one way or the other, somebody would probably drop out of a black helicopter with an Irish flag on it and say, "No, no, no, you guys are done. We're confiscating all your research. Destroy tourism here."
There you go.
Yeah, truth is such a dangerous thing, even in innocuous areas. Like
Yeah.
what you said, Hesh, it's not hard to imagine gatekeeping, even for things that might seem like trivia almost.
Yeah.
You're about to solve the Bigfoot mystery. Well, we can't have that. It's almost like it serves some industry, some part of the economic wheel to have that mystery.
Yeah.
You know, you can't have a lot of conclusive answers to anything. And that seems to be sort of the zeitgeist of the whole thing, right? Thou shalt not understand the Federal Reserve and leave Nellie alone.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Right. And you never know like what, practical marketplace you might be bumping up against. There's a fantastic docuseries on Hulu called I think it's just called Sasquatch. I think it's called Bigfoot or Sasquatch or something, like that. And it's basically the story of a young man. It's actually told from his perspective, and he's a famous journalist these days. And when he was young, he went to Humboldt County to a pot grower's place to help him do harvest. And while he was there one night, chilling in the casa, some guy ran in and was like, "Oh my God, all a Bigfoot just massacred a bunch of guys at the neighboring farm." And that was that. Like, they had this crazy conversation. The guy left. This dude was like in his 20s when it happened, and he comes back like 20 years later to try to put the pieces together of that night and figure out what happened. And if you're going to watch it and you don't want it to be spoiled, mute now or plug your ears. But it turns out these guys were encroaching Mexican trimmigrants, basically, who were trying to take over farms. They were stealing weed from the farms. So the farm owners that in this particular place were these tweakers, and they decided they'd murder all three of these guys. They murdered these guys, and then they mangled their bodies with tractors, and they put Bigfoot imprints into the dirt around where all the violence and gore was to spread fear amongst the Mexican cartel type of trimmigrants that were coming up there. You don't want to mess with those damn blue collared tweakers up there in Humboldt County, or Bigfoot might tear your buddies apart.
Yeah, the police aren't going to get very aggressive if they think they're going up against the abominable snowman or some equivalent thereof, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's crazy. There's 2 documentaries for anyone that's interested in this. There's that one, I think, Sasquatch on Hulu, and there's another one called Murder Mountain on Netflix. Like, if you really want to get a feel for where I went to college and Spore's brother went to college, watch those 2. It's a trip.
Sounds like a gruesome real life example of Scooby-Doo stuff, right?
Yeah,
they would have gotten away with it too.
Yeah, it's like Scooby-Doo meets The Hills Have Eyes.
Crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've had this long-running theory that a lot of that there might be actual real, maybe like secret government or the proverbial they or Illuminati secret societies doing some evil stuff and like keeping people away like they do in Scooby-Doo by making people think that there are hauntings or ghosts or UFO sightings or something and keep everyone distracted away from what's really going on. I think they do that in real life, and I think Scooby-Doo was trying to teach us something. That's all I'm saying.
I'll give you a perfect example of your theory that you can add to the arsenal here. I know you don't watch contemporary television, which is good for your brain, but I took the bullet for you, and I watched all these shows about this place called Skinwalker Ranch. That is the perfect example of what you just said. Like, yeah, there's some weird stuff that goes on there, but the government has had contractors there. It's out in Utah, I think, and the government has had, private contractors working there, liaising with them, all top secret stuff. They figured, we don't really know what they found up there, what they made up there, what was going on up there, but now they've basically moved the land to like the former governor of the state. I forget his name. Doesn't matter. But they're all of the people involved are Mormons. There's this weird like Mormon cult aspect, and they have a television show where they go through and like they do all this weird stuff, like they dig in the ground and orbs appear, or they go to this one place and a shadow walker appears, or every time they launch a rocket in the sky or fly a helicopter over the wrong thing, there's a Bermuda Triangle effect. It's just like multiple seasons of this same stuff. And if you look into all the people on the show, like the main host of it is a guy that's been working with CIA for the longest time, and all these like DoD employees and people with current top secret clearances and stuff. So, it's the perfect example of what you're saying right there. Like they drained it for whatever it was, pulled all the knowledge out of it, did any wacky stuff they could possibly do there, and then just shift ownership of it to someone associated with the Mormon cult, and then also the, cult of reality TV. It's absurd.
And clearly, we know what they were working on now, thanks to the incident that happened for a little while in New Jersey. They were working on those drones with the graviton technology, right? And unlimited payloads, whatever it was. Yeah,
dude.
That's what I was going to say. Is the drone incidents recently out east, I think, are a prime example. Museum specimen, museum specimen quality example of gaslighting. To say, whoa, oh, there's all these drones and we don't know what they are, where they came from, which is just not believable. At least in terms of, yeah, there could be the occasional errant drone where they're a little unsure of maybe what its origins are, but overall, the military, the CIA, the overall system, the Five Eyes and whatnot, they're going to know what that stuff is and maybe even be behind it. So I think they like to spook people and gaslight them and just create a aura of not just the unknown, but the unknowable. There's a difference. To say the unknown kind of suggests, well, if you study it, you'll find out. But if you say the unknowable, that means no matter what, you're never going to know. And
like an invisible enemy, Mark?
Yeah, well, it goes hand in hand with the idea that our enemies are all external countries. China is this big threat, and the Houthis. I have a lot of trouble believing the Houthis are really as sophisticated as we're told they are. If anybody's going to kick your door in, if anybody's going to put you in prison forever, and myriad other abuses, it's going to be, statistically speaking, your own government.
Yeah.
And it's also kind of strange, is it not? Like they said that Germany recently deployed troops in a forward position for the first time since World War II. I think some of us saw that headline. German troops on some sort of NATO deployment. And I looked at the German troops, and now all the soldiers look the same from every country. They all wear green camouflage, the same helmets. Whatever happened to the Nazi jerseys and the Russian jerseys? Everybody had their own distinct look. Now all soldiers look the same, and it makes you wonder: do all soldiers look the same because they're all fighting for the same team in a way? You know what I mean? It's like the only real enemy of the powers that be is the average people. And it's really just sort of some sort of government banking consortium versus the people, not one country that's some intractable foe that may attack your own country, like in a Red Dawn scenario. Remember the movie Red Dawn? And the paratroopers come in and the Ruskies are taking over. Who believes that anymore, really? In a way, it seems still possible, plausible, but in a way it seems anachronistic. And nowadays, all soldiers wear the same battle fatigue green or if they're in the desert, it's a little bit of a browner hue to their uniforms. And they all seem to be fighting for the globalist collective. And the only real foe to them is anyone who's awake.
Yeah, yeah, there is that. Yeah. There are one of the reasons I think that you see the same camos these days. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you here at all, but there is a technological reason.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
there's because it used to be that our military, Israel's military, like us and our partners basically were, and this is like, what, like 20 years ago, like in the early days of the GWAT, we were the only ones that had night vision. We were the only ones that had white phosphorus night vision. And as it turns out, textiles behave and appear very differently under night vision. So at this point, like if you're a modern fighting army, you need to have a camouflage that not only works in the environment, but doesn't reflect IR. So those IR signatures, I think, and now our military is finding out that as technology grows and 20 years pass, you're no longer the only people with white phosphorus tubes over your eyes. Your enemies have them too, and they may have the same, IR non-responsive combat uniforms as your team. You know what I mean? So it's like it kind of gets into this whole like where we at with military these days in general. What does modern warfare actually look like? Because looking back at like the early GWAT days, the landscape is very, very different.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, technologically there's some factors there too as well. I agree.
Infidel Pharaoh wanted to jump in there. Mystical Pharaoh, sorry man, I'll get used to this one day, I'm sure.
Oh, I liked Infidel. It's just me.
You're muted there. There you go.
All right. So what are you saying, Hesher? Oh, I can't hear. We can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I saw your message in the private chat there. Was there something you wanted to jump in on before?
Oh, yeah. It's just for I think for Mark Anderson. So did you hear that Klaus Schwab is stepping down from the World
No.
Economic Forum? Yeah, I posted the link here.
What? Yeah, I see that. When did you first hear this?
Today.
As of today.
This just
As
came
of
out.
today.
Yeah, today.
He's not stepping right away, but he's transitioning, and he's referencing the election of Donald Trump and the investigation they were trying to launch in WEF.
Huh.
So
I thought he already stepped down and gave it to his daughter.
No.
I
When
swear I
did that
reported
happen?
that
He
a year
announced,
ago.
a couple months ago that he intended to.
Maybe I'm late in that.
Well, that's how these things happen. Like they'll say, "I'm going to do it," and then they say, "Now I'm doing it," and then when it finally happens, then they say, "I did it."
Yeah, that's when you'll see DC Drano and everybody finally catching on the third wave of this. But
They're going to go on Rogan.
yeah, here's the update. April 3rd, that's today, out of Reuters. World Economic Forum founder Klaus Schwab will start the process of stepping down as chair of its board of trustees, says a spokesperson from the Geneva-based institution to Reuters. Just today, Schwab said the forum, which convenes annual gatherings in the Swiss resort of Davos, must recover its sense of mission after a period of turmoil. The Financial Times first reported, citing a letter to trustee board members and confirmation by two people with knowledge of the situation. So there you go. Not a whole lot there, but Mark, what do you think, man? Is this probably just gonna? This is like George Soros stepping down and handing it to his son Andrew or whatever his name is.
It says he's starting the process of stepping down. What doesn't he just step the F down? I mean,
Yeah.
start the process, get out of our face, go away. It's my first
Yeah.
thought. Once you step down 6 feet under the surface, maybe, that might be a good, and then be buried face down so you know where you're going, like the old joke goes. And I mean, what can you say about a kleptocrat like that? He's like almost out of a Austin Powers movie, the guy that sits in a chair and pets cats and laughs kind of weird and maybe plays the like a Wurlitzer organ when no one's looking, sort of like Dr. Five starring Vincent Price. You know, he's like the quintessential Dr. Evil character.
Yeah.
And you just wish he would go away. You wonder where people like that even come from. You know, are they made in a factory or was he born to a mother? I don't know. You know, it's just like, would you please go away?
Hatched out of a xenomorph egg, perhaps. I don't know.
I mean, what can you say? You know, the guy that doesn't recognize the concept of private property, you know, that puts big pharma on a pedestal.
The guy that wrote The Great Reset, which is basically the playbook for everything that we fight against.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, it's sort of soured me on the country of Switzerland. I've been there a couple of times, and I always thought that Swiss neutrality and some of the more, you know, freedom-minded, independence-minded, neutrality-minded Swiss would boot someone like that out of their country. You know, the people that are more traditional in their views and maybe were, you know, farmers for generations. You know, it's not a very big country. Why didn't they throw him out of their country club there? You know, why didn't they boot his ass out? What's he even doing there?
They should have booted his ass out as soon as he showed up at that beach wearing that like Star Wars looking banana hammock thing. That was just awful. Or when he showed up in the Emperor Palpatine cloak. I mean,
Is that photo true? The one with
I
him
don't
on the
know.
beach?
No, I don't
know
think
about
so.
that. I think that's
Probably not.
fake. But the crazy evil looking uniform, that's real. That's crazy.
Real. Yep.
That's weird enough.
Alex, thank you.
Yeah, which is sort of that sci-fi look, you know, that spy movie / sci-fi look, you know.
Yeah, like you're the Baron from Dune or something like that.
If you've ever seen his curriculum vitae, his resume, you might say, he's got one achievement after another. He's a sir of this, and he's a baron of that, and he's an honorary degree recipient of this university, an honorary degree recipient of that university. Every pip, every stripe on the shoulder you can think of, but you know, it's still just empty. You know, it's pride goeth before the fall. The guy's just an empty shell, and sometimes you can sort of see that. You know, I don't think people like that are happy. I think they have to just keep telling themselves that they're these high achievers, but behind it, it's just nothing. It's just fairy dust.
Yeah,
It's got to be fake. I mean, if you're really that powerful and you're really doing all these in-your-face things, would you really be out there in the public's eye, in the image? I still believe that the more powerful people who are really pulling the strings, we've never heard of them. We wouldn't be able to pick them out from a crowd. We wouldn't. Everyone knows who this guy is. Everyone knows who Bill Gates is. To a degree, everyone knows who Elon Musk is, but I think he's a far more dangerous person. But that's my own personal beliefs. But yeah, I think somebody like Klaus Schwab, he's too perfect of an obvious James Bond villain, right down to the outfit. It's almost like it's an in-your-face. Hey, we're just pulling your leg here, folks. We're just messing with you. It's like when they drop the 33 in the news headlines. They're just trolling us. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't do this very much, but he probably does it once in a while. You know,
might as well.
Yeah, and yeah, it's a caricature. You're right, Ruckus. It is like a caricature, and maybe that's why it seems so hollow and shallow, like there's nothing there because there's nothing supposed to be there. He's just a figurehead for other string pullers. That would kind of explain how the guy seems so powerful, and yet there's just nothing there. There's no substance. It's just a complete and total nothing.
Yeah, it's not like
maybe he is an android humanoid robot.
Yeah, I agree actually to that analysis.
And it's not like you're gonna have you know, one of the Illuminati bloodline family names sitting there wasting their time at Davos, you know, and taking all this flack and you know, being the Bond villain. Like, you know, those people are busy. They had their time, you know, like when, you know, we've had the Rockefellers and all that stuff, and the titans of industry, you know, to moving into philanthropy. But then you look back at their actual history and it's like, oh wow, you were kind of neither nor. You were really something completely different when we zoom out and look at it. So I guess we'd also be remiss if we didn't consider the possibility that with Soros stepping down, Schwab stepping down, Fauci stepping down, this might just be because of a job well done. This may be that they completed their arc of the story and they can now retire and, go into whatever the next phase looks like for them, whether that's consultant for these people and they just sit on, a beach in the south of France or on little St. James Island or wherever. Or, they're off to the philanthropy phase, perhaps, maybe start some NGOs and work in that cesspool. So, when you really look at where technocracy is right now and where global finance is going and where geopolitical stylings of policies are going, you could kind of say, yeah, maybe he ticked all the boxes and it's just a job well done. And on the way out, of course, he's going to say, I'm leaving because of Trump, because that polarization that you caused in that whole time, you got to ride out on a wave of it too, right?
Yeah, I'm remembering the British comedy Red Dwarf, and behind the scenes, he parades around in a taffeta ball gown, sipping mint juleps, whipping the houseboy.
Right. Yep. Yeah, Red Dwarf. I didn't know about Red Dwarf until you told me about it, man.
Yeah, pretty perverted, or maybe he's part of the potato people or the GMO people.
Right. Yep, genetically modified people. There
Well,
you go.
what we said, we don't know where he came from. Was he made in a factory? Well, he could be the very GMO people that you talked about in your intro.
Yeah, exactly.
A bit facetious, but you never know.
Yeah, facetious, true, but plausible, maybe. Maybe. Okay, let's see here. Anyone else want anything further on anything we've gone on?
This aligns too frighteningly close to the topic I was exploring on my episode of the Daily Ruckus, because I ventured a little what if exercise there, presuming, I don't know what the right word is, but what if like one of these mission accomplished things is they're done with their depopulation agenda? What if all of the things are because of the jabs, obviously, but like, why is there such a mad rush to replace everybody's jobs with AI and humanoid robots all of a sudden? Are we all about to just suffer a mass die-off? Are we facing a tsunami situation? Why did they blow up the George Guidestones out of nowhere just a couple years ago? Like, what the heck? That thing was up there forever. Why'd they have to hide their tracks? Why are they getting rid of these people like the Soroses and the Klaus Schwabs? Why is Elon Musk and people like Larry Ellison and Larry Fink been thrust forward? Peter Thiel, all these technocrats, they're the good guys now. Like, what the heck is happening? I'm very frightened. I don't know what the reason is, but I think there is this general sense of a changing of the guard. They're handing it off to the newer, younger generation, and they seem like, yeah, hey, like you just said, Hesher, nice job well done. We're there. Like, the next stage is beginning, and we're right on track for this 2030 thing. Isn't that weird? Scary.
That's interesting. Yeah, it is possible that things are done in phases, and once certain phases, whether they're assigned or assumed by the protagonist, the person in question, then they move on to something else, or they just fade away and ride off into the globalist sunset. That's interesting. I mean, even just the birth rate being not enough for replacement, that alone, not counting the ill effects of the COVID-19 jabs and myriad other things in our food and our water, all these things taken together, just the fact that there's a flat or negative birth rate, the drop-offs in about 30 or 40 years in Japan and many other countries are going to be precipitous. And so one way or another, yeah, it's not looking good for the population whatsoever.
And now we're facing this thing with the tariffs, which some people could well, lots of people are already arguing that the plan, if there is a plan, like, well, the only thing I see coming out of this is the destruction of the dollar and like moving us, actually, like the changing of the torch. And I see a lot of these people when they make their rounds, they say these things like we're literally changing the financial system. They're literally pushing us, like shoving us off a cliff right into a digital currency structured system. And I think that we're witnessing that as part of these tariffs, and this is going to fuck up the economy. I mean, people don't realize this is not good. Go ahead, Pharaoh.
Yeah, I disagree with that actually. I mean, if you look at the history of of how since the 90s, and it started with Clinton and Bush, right? The push to deindustrialize this nation, joining NAFTA, joining the World Trade Organization, all this shit happened in the 90s. And they slowly moved all the industries out. They made us reliant on those nations, right? And turned us into a consumer society. I think right now, what we're trying to do is to take control back of our means of production. We cannot just be reliant on these guys, right? And if you look at the tariffs, the reciprocal tariffs, the chart he had, it's crazy. The tariffs they are charging us, right? So I disagree with you. I think actually I agree that there will be short-term pains, right? But I think on the long term, by putting the right incentives for companies to move back in here in the US, and the tariffs, that we're slowly are going to build it back. But there will be some short term, and this meltdown about S&P like 500 today. It's I was just talking about this a minute, like a few hours ago on X. Since 2020, the S&P right now, we're actually in market correction territory after that drop that happened after this tariff. There is nothing crazy. The stock market has way been overpriced in the last 4 years. So people that are whining about their 401ks, no, your 401k is still higher than what it was in 2020. You did not, so it's
so is gold.
Yeah, but that market correction is inevitable. That stock market was going to crash, and I think
Hesher, what's that guy's name that you've been on his show before? Eric Rice.
Yeah, Eric Rice.
We should reach out to him and see if he wants to come on and talk some economy stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure he would be interested to throw in on this one. I actually owe him a call.
Because we're not biologists, we're not anthropologists, we're not pharmacologists, and we're not economists either.
Well, okay. So can you click on that link I just posted, and let's hear what Nancy Pelosi said back in 1996 about reciprocal trade with China. If you have like a few minutes, let's listen to.
Wow, that is Nancy Pelosi.
That's a young Nancy Pelosi. Here
many gallons of.
Okay, Whitebird, settle down, Whitebird.
All right, yeah. Let's see here. Okay, here we go into the time machine. Let's see what.
Wow,
Nancy Pelosi of yesteryear. Had to say. Let me make sure that's not muted. Okay, let's see what happens.
How far does China have to go? How much more repression? How big a trade deficit and loss of jobs for the American worker? And how much more dangerous proliferation has to exist before members of this House of Representatives will say, I will not endorse the status quo? As I mentioned, it's about jobs, proliferation, and human rights. And there are those who say we shouldn't link human rights and trade and proliferation and trade. I disagree. But if we just want to take up this issue on the basis of economics alone, indeed, China should not receive most favored nation status for several reasons that I'd like to go into now. I'd like to call the attention of our colleagues to this chart on the status quo that the business community is asking each and every one of us to endorse today. Right now, we have a $34 billion trade deficit with China, the 1995 figure. It will be over $40 billion for 1996. Since the Tiananmen Square massacre, this figure has increased 1,000%, from $3.5 billion then to about $34 billion now. In terms of tariffs, I think it's interesting to note that the average U.S. MFN tariff on Chinese goods coming into the United States is 2%, whereas the average Chinese MFN tariff on U.S. goods going into China is 35%. Is that reciprocal? On exports, China only allows certain industries into China, of U.S. Industries into China, and therefore only 2% of U.S. exports are allowed into China. On the other hand, the U.S. allows China to flood our markets with a third of their exports, and that'll probably go over 40%. And it's limitless because we have not placed any restriction. In terms of jobs, this is the biggest and cruelest hoax of all. Not only do we not have market access, not only do they have prohibitive tariffs, not only are our exports not let in very specifically, but China benefits with at least 10 million jobs from U.S.-China trade. The president in his statement requesting this special waiver said that it
All right. Based Nancy Pelosi, 1996 based Nancy Pelosi. Who knew?
I know, right?
Well, that was the Democrat Party of those days, man. I mean, that was how they talked. That was
That's
how
before that China bought them.
Yeah, totally, man. You wouldn't.
It so happens that tomorrow in ukcolumn.org, I'm doing a report on Trump's latest Rose Garden announcement that he made the other day on what he's calling the Declaration of Economic Independence and the reciprocal tariffs, where if China has an average tariff overall of 60% on U.S. goods going there, Trump will, in reciprocity, Trump will only charge them half, or about 30%. But there's a 10% minimum. So it's 10% UK, 10% US. But in every country, according to a chart that Trump showed, the US will charge half the tariff that the other country charges us. So he's not being overly punitive, and he's not matching them percentage for percentage. He's only going half, which is pretty understandable and probably a pretty good policy overall. It was interesting, to his credit, that he used the word globalist. He says, I don't care what the globalists or the outsourcers think. And that was kind of a notable thing to hear him use that word. And so Trump, like usual, is something of a hard read. But I think that a lot of good, as Pharaoh is talking about, as long as there's, as Ruckus is also pointing out, as long as there's caretaking and how this is done, and the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, otherwise it could cause some damage, and there'll be a painful period, as Pharaoh talked about, before things get better. But what it is it's a transformation of the economy from an international one to a more nationally based one, and there's a transition to make. I think the biggest thing to think about is something that Trump didn't mention, and I'm not pointing him out as something suspicious, but there's three kinds of sourcing. There's outsourcing, near sourcing, and insourcing. Okay, outsourcing is when a U.S. manufacturer moves their production to, say, Taiwan or someplace in the Pacific Rim, let's just say. Near sourcing is when a U.S. domiciled company moves the manufacturing to Mexico. It's near the United States, so that's near sourcing. It's still like outsourcing, only it's closer, right? Insourcing could mean a Chinese-owned company manufacturing within the U.S. on our soil, but it's not U.S. domiciled. It's Chinese-owned, but on U.S. soil. See, so it's not just where the manufacturing takes place, it's where the company is domiciled, where it's listed as a company. So if in this process, Trump inadvertently, knowingly, unknowingly, wittingly, unwittingly has Chinese-owned companies actually owned by the Communist Party, let's say, operating on U.S. soil, and they're manufacturing stuff in the USA. It's made in the USA, but it's made by a CCP company domiciled in China, only on U.S. soil. Now, Trump didn't get into this, and again, I'm not pointing fingers, but it'll be interesting if in all this U.S. nationalism, all this U.S. pride, a declaration of economic independence, if all of a sudden we start getting foreign domiciled companies operating on U.S. soil, yeah, there'll still be some benefits for the U.S., but those foreign owned companies won't be paying tariffs because their stuff is made here. So they get around the tariffs by coming here, but they're still foreign owned. You see, so in a globalist world, it's almost like everywhere is everywhere. In other words, national boundaries become more and more meaningless. And what really matters is who owns the company, not so much where it's located. So you follow me how tricky this can get?
You're absolutely right. But here is what happens is now you're leveling the playground or the playfield to allow US companies now to come out and manufacture also in US, right?
Right,
And if
right.
they have more
That's true.
innovation, now they can compete. But now there is this advantage, right? If they are not in the same place.
Yeah, it'll just be interesting. These are just distinctions to make and look at.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. It's a great point.
Yeah, insourcing, outsourcing, near sourcing. But anyway, I see a lot of good coming out of it, but there'll be some difficulties. The last thing I'll mention, and I do got to crash out before too long, Fridays are very early for UK column, is that I often wonder, like Trump will say, he said, I'm making eggs cheaper. I cut the cost of eggs by 50%. He told the people in the Rose Garden the other day. And gas is under $3. Well, gas has been under $3 for a long time here in South Texas. And gas always goes up and down. It's a yo-yo. It always has been, gasoline. And the eggs are too expensive, although not onerously expensive, but they're also going up and down in price. And I really don't know that politicians have that much to do with prices ultimately. They claim they do. They want voters to think they do, but I don't know. I'm not convinced that their influence on price structures, other than maybe a minimal sort of indirect influence, I don't know how strong it really is. And so they make a lot of brownie points, a lot of optics, a lot of propaganda points saying, I brought the price of eggs down, but how much of that can they really control? And then you have to ask the question, should they be able to control that? Do we want people with the power to just say by decree that this will cost more or this will cost less, just by simply making a decree?
The cost of eggs goes down today.
Yes, it must go down today, And
I'll tell you what the politicians could do to bring the prices of eggs down. Find the group or groups of people that are enabling the summary murder, if you will, from a vegans out there of so many chickens. Why is this happening? Stop the idiots in lab coats from going out there and running PCR tests on chickens because they're committing fraud, perhaps. How about that?
You're
And
absolutely
yeah, go ahead.
You're absolutely right. This is how that whole egg thing got manufactured, right? By them killing millions of chicken because of the bird flu.
Hundreds of millions of chickens.
It's manufactured crisis.
Yeah, exactly. That's our supply chain weakness right there. And
it's not the Houthis.
No, I don't think so. The Houthis? No, I don't think it was the Houthis. Maybe a Houthi and the Blowfish or something. I put this one on screen while Mark was talking there because I've seen multiple headlines like this. Hyundai planning a fresh $20 billion investment in the U.S. So we do have a lot of foreign companies coming and investing, but we already had a whole bunch of Chinese companies making car batteries and crap like that here. Actually,
I thought they were buying the farmland.
They're buying farmland, yep, and they're building car battery factories next to active farmland in a way that's going to destroy that farmland. So that that's been going on this whole friggin' time here. And that's just one example. Apple, an American company, but all their manufacturing was happening overseas. They say they're putting, so many $1 billion into bringing some of that back to the United States and crediting Trump for it, So very interesting stuff. I'm picking up what all you guys are putting down. I agree with Mystical Pharaoh in the sense that a leveling out has been called should have happened many, many years ago, and sounds like the right way to go. I agree with Ruckus in the sense that I'm seeing a lot of art of the deal attached to these tariffs, and I think that says something about the wider security of actual free trade, international free trade. When I see politicking so heavily attached to it, and Mark, you make some really good point about the nuances there to look for, and at this point, I think. Well, this was pretty crazy actually. So let's just go through the numbers real quick here. Chinese products now have a 54% tariff. They won the race there. The EU has 20% tariff. UK, they got the baseline 10%. Canada's got 25%. Mexico 25%. Japan, I was surprised to see, got 24%. And Australia, I was surprised to see, got only the baseline at 10%. And I've got the comments made by some of the leaders of all those places that we could look at. But before we go,
look at Vietnam. Sorry, Hesher. Look at Vietnam. What is Vietnam tariffs on U.S. goods?
I'm sorry, who's?
Vietnam.
Oh, Vietnam. Yeah. Okay. Vietnam. I was surprised by that one too. Vietnam was. Maybe it's not in my list here. I have another list somewhere, but I was surprised. It was like 35% to Vietnam, I think.
I think it was 90%. Like Vietnam is tariffing US 90%, I believe. Let me.
Yeah. No, the numbers I was reading are the new tariffs we're imposing on them. I don't have the reciprocal ones.
Yeah. No, I think he slashed it into half, so he made it 46. But
Okay.
they were charging us 90%.
Well,
we get so much clothes actually that we import that's made in Vietnam.
Yeah, dude.
In workshops by underage workers, right?
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yeah, Vietnam. I mean, that's where most of the high brand outdoor clothing gets their textiles and their sewing, and a lot of their garments are put together in Vietnam.
But Ruckus brought a really important point that I want to see Trump doing is how are we addressing foreigners buying U.S. farmland? Because that's a national security threat for me, right? When foreigners buying farmlands and control farmlands, and they just killing our farming industry,
launching
right, and controlling that is national security threat.
That fits into what I was saying about insourcing. If it's one thing for a foreign company to buy U.S. property and use it, but foreign governments should not be able to buy 1 square inch of the United States, not even a square inch. And apart from embassies, which are sort of a little island or little refuge for that foreign nation to operate here, but foreign governments should not be able to buy any property whatsoever in another nation, other than their embassies and things like that. And that would be a particularly bad form of insourcing, where it looks like you're boosting, domestic manufacturing and more economic activity within your borders. But it depends on who, and it depends on the context and the terms. The devil is always in the details.
Yeah. Let me, Mark, before you go, let me throw this one down a little bit. If you have to go while I go through this, that's okay. But just interrupt me, because this article here that came out of Global Affairs, reposted at 21st Century Wire, was what inspired the title for tonight's show. I talked about this on the Pulse. If you're just joining us, I'm broadcasting on the Pulse Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 2 Central, 3 Eastern for 2 hours. So head on over there for some live radio with me. We'd love to see you over there. So the pulse.today is where that's happening. I'm on the Pulse Radio 2. The button's up at the top in the right. But I talked about this on the show a little bit because I've been trying to understand some of the ins and outs of this, because I totally understand the reciprocal factor. My concern, though, is what this article outlays is sort of the zoomed out, more geopolitical perspective. And the concern is that the Manufacturing's already been offshored. That clip we watched from Pelosi was 1996. I mean, and we're way, 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 way down the road. It's going to take more than just reciprocal tariffs. We have to save the entire economy at this point. Reciprocal tariffs aren't going to do it on their own. However, okay, so this is out in Global Affairs, and it's about the term neo-mercantilism. So neo-mercantilism is a revived theory of mercantilism, emphasizing trade restrictions and commercial policies as a means of increasing domestic income and employment. Neo-mercantilism focuses attention on the interconnectedness of trade, technological investment, and national industrial policies with national security and state power dynamics. In current policy discussions such as trade policy, technology policy, foreign relations, military strategy, cybersecurity, and industrial policy are often treated as separate domains. However, analyzing the US/China rivalry as a contest for global dominance integrates these various components. This phenomenon, which has grown since 2018, can also be termed digital neo-mercantilism, as the competition revolves around critical technologies such as 5G telecommunications, semiconductors, social media platforms, and artificial intelligence. So the new age of global trade, aggressive neo-mercantilism. International trade with US and China at the forefront is undergoing a paradigmatic shift away from free trade and toward an aggressive form of neo-mercantilism. Learning is pattern recognition, spotting a picture before all its constituent dots are explicitly connected. What's the pattern by forming the dots? All international trade events that occurred in the 8 years between the two US presidential inaugurations on January 20 in 2017 and 2025. First, President Trump imposed tariffs on 25% of Chinese origin merchandise under Section 301 of the Trade Act, as amended. Throughout his term, U.S. President Joe Biden maintained the tariffs imposed by his predecessor and successor and hiked some of them to 100%. Second, Biden toughened export controls on sensitive technology, so advanced semiconductors as an example, and the People's Republic of China responded in tit for tat, including imposing limits on rare earth shipments to the United States. Notice the clamoring for rare earth right now in Ukraine and other places, Greenland. Third, in his first and second terms, Trump pledged an America First trade policy, which in the Biden interregnum became the euphemism worker-friendly trade policy. In perhaps the biggest trade difference between them, Biden negotiated in Koshate, Big Yawn Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, the IPEF, after Trump foolishly withdrew from the best ever trade deal to contain China, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Fourth, during the presidential campaign of 2024, Trump threatened the additional 10% or even 100% to 200% tariffs on China, plus 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico if they don't police their borders against fentanyl and undocumented migrants. So that's that weird kind of art of the deal policy stuff that shouldn't necessarily be attached to tariffs, but now is in neo-mercantilism as the lens that we're looking through. He also proposed a universal tariff of 10 to 60% on goods from all other countries. These threats continued after he took office. He refined the universal tariff threat. Maybe it would be 25%, phased in 2.5% increments to rectify the United States trade deficit and protect U.S. jobs. In response to such threats, we've had President Xi Jinping, former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum vowed to tariff U.S.-made goods in retaliation. And then fifth, take a breath. Throughout all this disruption, the 166-member World Trade Organization was and continues to be a non-factor. Its Supreme Court, which is an appellate body, devoid of new members, needed to replace term-limited ones because the U.S. opposes all candidates as judicially active, is a null set. Thus, the premier goal trade body has been largely impotent in policing its fundamental rules, favoring trade liberalization, those dating from the General Agreement on Tariffs, the GATT. Added to those dots were the dramatic events of late January and early February, namely the threats to impose 25% tariffs on all steel and aluminum from all countries, threats to hit all goods from all countries with reciprocal tariffs, threats to put sector-specific tariffs on autos, chips, lumber, pharmaceuticals, threats to fight digital services taxes of other countries with tariffs on their goods, and levying 10% tariffs on all Chinese merchandise. So, the pattern connecting these and many other dots is aggressive neo-mercantilism. The picture formed is of a paradigm shift in the theory and practice of global trade from a disposition to free trade with tolerance for managed trade to an embrace of protectionism justified by national security. So, trade is no longer about economic openness with a view to harmony among nations. Now, from the US's perspective, trade is about fending off the other, so like China, to extend Washington's post-World War II preeminence. In the post-colonial narrative of the People's Republic of China, trade is exploitative, as it was for the Middle Kingdom after the 1839 to 1842 and 56 to 1860 Opium Wars. So I thought that was interesting lens to look at this through. What do you guys think? What do you think, Mark? I know you got to go soon.
I disagree with a number of things in that article. One of the things that I've always kind of bristled at was always calling a tariff a threat. Threaten this tariff, threaten that tariff. A tariff is just as legitimate a form of taxation as a sales tax or an income tax. The U.S. survived and actually thrived the first 125 or so years of its existence by tariffs. The way Trump phrased it the other day was that he wants our purses and wallets, our incomes, to pay less of federal expenses and more of the federal government's revenue to come from the water's edge, from other countries wanting to get into our markets. So at least he's marketing it as a way to lower the income tax. He complained about the income tax being created without a constitutional amendment, which is true, and that was the income tax was phased in as tariffs were phased out. So there's a lot of moving parts to the whole issue of trade. The globalists like free trade because free can mean different things to different people. To them, free means basically a minimal government oversight as to the fairness of trade. Trump used the word fair, the two words together, fair trade, several times. We don't need free trade so much as we need fair trade. In other words, ideally, the amount of tariff would be roughly the same on each side, and yet Trump is being reciprocal in only having half the tariff that the other country charges us. So if China charges us a 60% tariff overall, we only charge them 30. So again, like I said earlier, he's not being punitive. Now, the idea that neo-mercantilism is it works by giving your country an advantage or prosperity at the direct expense of other countries. There might be some truth to that, but I think that there's a lot to work out here, and there's a lot that remains to be seen. What Trump is doing, while there'll be some painful elements of it, I suppose, is pretty unprecedented. We haven't seen this kind of tariff-based economy or reliance on tariffs in a long, long time, since the days of William McKinley. And so I find it kind of fascinating just to see where this is going to go, as opposed to shouting it down too quickly, because I think the invasive income tax, the 1040, the critics of the income tax call it the annual confessional that you have to sign every year by penalty of perjury, giving every last detail of your personal income and deductions. I find that more unacceptable than tariff structures. I find that more of a threat to individual freedom than tariffs. and so much could be said. That's the problem. It's hard to really get this nailed down in the time permitted. One thing I'll mention in passing is that remember that China became the way China is in the waning days of Mao Zedong under Nixon going over there, and then the Rockefellers had their own plan. The West set up China to be this way. They gave it this sort of capitalist substream, sort of capitalist substructure, even though the Communist Party still made the ultimate rules and made the ultimate decisions. So to the extent that China is a capitalist producing country, a productive country, producing a lot of goods, some of them good, some of them shoddy, that has been put in through Western know-how and billions and billions of our tax dollars and foreign investment to make China this way. China didn't get this way on their own. And so when China dumps goods in America and it's called unfair, in a way, we only have ourselves to blame because once Nixon met with Mao and the Rockefellers got involved, then China was transformed from the outside. And so when the chickens come home to roost, that's partially due to Western manipulation by the super rich, by the ultimate movers and shakers. Nixon owed some debts to the Rockefellers because Nelson Rockefeller helped rescue him from political oblivion. When he lost to Kennedy in 1960, he ran for California governor, I believe, and he lost that as well. And Nixon was on his way down. And according to the author Gary Allen, who wrote a book called Nixon, the man behind the mask, Nixon owed his political recovery to Nelson Rockefeller, and that's why he went along with this liberalize the Chinese economy. The idea being that if you brought economic liberalism to China, that they would tone down their communist persecution on human rights. It worked to a degree, but in many ways it didn't. But this is, again, a very open-ended discussion where we can all agree or disagree on a number of points. But in the interest of time, I'll leave it at that. There's just so many factors involved, and that's the bottom line.
Can I make an argument that there is actually no such thing as pure free trade? Same, there is no such thing as pure capitalism, right? I think
right. Yeah.
So I think those are ideals that are for free trade, as I think they are. It's pushed by globalist entities and global money to sell you that idea of free trade, but in the core of it, there is no such thing as free trade. and the same thing, how they are, pushing everybody to accept capitalism and right, but there is no such thing as, we have manipulated capitalism, right? So I think we have to look at things in that lens, that there is no such thing as free trade, and there is no pure capitalism.
Yeah, plus there's nuances. There's more monopolistic crony capitalism, and then there's genuine free enterprise, which is a little bit of a different thing. The other thing I'll mention, and I'm not really coming down on an opinion on this, Trump also, unlike the article we just read, Trump said, good riddance to the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the TPP. He believed it was a bad idea. A number of people agree, and that it was actually good that we got out of that. This article saying that the TPP would have contained China. Maybe there's some truth to that. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd have to have that explained to me further. I'm with you on that. That was one of the parts in there that struck me. I was like, well, wait a minute. What? That's not my understanding, but maybe there's an argument to be made there.
Right. I don't know enough about it either way, but okay, guys. Unfortunately, Great Britain went back to springing forward.
Yes.
So I have to get up extra early again. For a couple of weeks, I could sleep an extra hour. That's all gone now.
Yeah, those days are over. It's a brief period of time that feels like a lifetime when you're trying to coordinate with people over there and listeners around the world. Tell people where to find you before you got to run out of here, Microphone.
Yeah, Microphone, the singer. He's a retired, washed-up singer. Well, UK column on Fridays, which live is 7 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Eastern right now. That's 1 p.m. in the UK in Plymouth. That's every Friday. I'm part of the news team. As a matter of fact, I'm on there with Patrick Henningsen on Fridays and Mike Robinson. And then most Wednesdays, I'm on republicbroadcasting.org doing my radio show, Stop the Presses. And there's articles in the hard copy of American Free Press, occasionally online at americanfreepress.net. That's the main ones right now.
All right. Well, Mark, it was a pleasure having you here. You and I need to have another discussion about weather modifications sometime soon here to follow on our last broadcast we did on that. I know you've been digging into that some more. We both have a little bit, so we'll circle back offline and come up with a time to do that.
All right, thanks, guys. You all have a good one.
All right, you
Mark,
too.
dropping the mic.
Dropping the mic. There he goes. Mike Ruffone is out. Total ejection from the boiler room. Yeah, so I agree with you guys. It's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. It's going to be interesting to see if that author over there at which site was it? Global Affairs is correct. I'm definitely seeing some signs of what he's alluding to. We'll see if the markets balance out and if everything's cool, and we'll see. We shall see. Interesting to see Pelosi in 1996, man. What was I doing in 1996? I certainly wasn't watching C-SPAN live. I can tell you that. I was probably driving around in my Nissan mini truck listening to Dark Throne or something.
I just finished high school, 1996.
Nice.
I was wrapping up one of my last semesters ever in college that I would be attending.
I was on my second sophomore year, I think. Or maybe it was my first junior year. I can't remember. Okay, let's see here. What else do you want to hit tonight, Infidel, before we
I think Trump just fires the NSA director.
Oh, which one was
Cybersecurity
that?
Command.
That's not the one recommended by Laura Loomer, was it?
Yeah, was she on her deniers list, or her what did she call him? The
sorry, NSA. Yeah, he's Timothy Haw, the head of U.S. Cyber Command and the National Security Agency.
Well,
he was appointed by Biden last year, but it seems that he's cleaning house, which I think it's an interesting move.
Mm-hmm.
I like it, but we'll see.
Is this the first
so
firing?
He replaces him with like somebody from like Alex Karp or Peter Thiel's crew.
I know, probably crew. Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Sadly, that's who's taken over.
So this whole story's been kind of weird. Laura Loomer, infamous far right activist.
I saw this. I'm like, this cannot be a real story.
I know, me too, dude. Me too. Like, I was reading it live. I was finding out about it while I was reading about it on the show today at the Pulse, and I was like, is this real? Like, is this really where we're at? So the White House has fired multiple administration officials, including at least 3 National Security Council staffers. 3 sources familiar with the move told CNN. The firings came after Laura Loomer, as they call her, the far-right activist who once claimed 9/11 was an inside job. Oh my God, how dare she?
She's the Trump whisperer.
Yeah, exactly. She's the influencer, journalist, Trump whisperer. Said she urged President Donald Trump during a meeting yesterday to get rid of several members of his National Security Council staff, including his principal deputy national security advisor, claiming they are disloyal. There she is with her purple hair and her purple blazer and her cool DJI microphone on her lapel. One of the sources said Loomer had compiled a list of roughly a dozen names, a dirty dozen, if you will. Where have we heard that before? Leftist tactic. And that the subsequent firings were a direct result of the meeting with Loomer, who was an influential voice around Trump during his 2024 campaign. Trump defended letting people go when talking to reporters aboard Air Force One on today. Always, he said, quote, always, we're going to let people go. We're going to let a lot of people go. People that we don't like, or people that we don't think can do the job, or people that may have loyalties to someone else. But he said Loomer was not involved in Wednesday's firings, calling her a very good patriot. So I guess that we'll just have to be confused about that. Was she not involved, or was she involved?
So this was not an example of somebody from a form of media influencing the country's politics, which is totally fine. I mean, Biden did this all the time. He had like former people from CNN come in and whisper in his ear, and then he did actions. Right? This is crazy. I don't know about this one.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything quite like this. I mean, the Elon Musk was one thing. Everyone like, oh yeah, he's in Trump's. But to literally have a visitor show up like Laura Loomer, have
All
a
of a sudden-
conversation, present him with a list, and everyone on that list suddenly gets fired. What does it look like? I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah. Does DC Drano get to walk in next time? Is Liz Wheeler in the queue? Or are these?
I got a
people-
list.
Cernovich going to walk in and demand someone be fired. So the three officials fired include Brian Walsh, a director of intelligence and former top staffer for now Secretary of State Rubio on the Senate Intelligence Committee. One Thomas Baudry, a senior director for legislative affairs who previously served as Walz's legislative director in Congress, and David Feith, a senior director overseeing technology and national security who served in the State Department during Trump's first administration. So just a couple examples there for you, but that's interesting to see, eh? All right, so we had that going on. One thing I learned today that I thought was interesting was a report on the Navy and the Marine Corps' amphibious capability. This person was writing about what it would take to actually stop the what is it? How do I say it properly? Infidel? Is it like Ansar Alani or something like that? Is what the Houthis would prefer to be called, something like that. I get that. I can never remember that one all the way.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly about the name.
Come on, man! You're supposed
You're
to be my guy.
confusing that with the guy who's heading Syria now, dude.
Yeah, that guy. No, not him. Anyways, so the Biden administration apparently never realized this situation, but in 2018, when the general leadership changed to some guy named General Berger, they basically got rid of a whole bunch of their amphibious stuff. So the Marine Corps can barely produce a regimental combat team. They're saying one that would only be light infantry. So they're saying essentially that the readiness has fallen to the point where, and that this is self-inflicted. This happened from within. That we really couldn't even invade Yemen if we wanted to, because we would need a robust, amphibious capable military that could drop tanks and artillery, and we don't have that anymore.
Yeah, there is no way. There is no way you can go with ground force. I mean, that's Saudis themselves could not. They just bombed the shit out of them, and it didn't end up with anything because they go underground, right?
Right.
So,
And they're firing. They're using mobile missile launchers, so they have. It's going to be difficult for them to. They don't have installations for them to bomb, I guess.
what's interesting thing is, I was hearing that in some Arabic news that Iran announced they are not backing them anymore because they don't want to get in a conflict with US.
Well, it's funny how the US media doesn't like to report on that, do they?
Mm-hmm. I did not see it in any of the US media, but I just heard it actually earlier in some of the Arabic news.
Yeah.
Ansar Allah.
Ansar Allah. Thank you.
Ansar Allah,
We call them Houthis because their founder's name was Hussein Badruddin al-Houthi.
Thank you much. Thank you. There we go.
My Arabic's terrible.
Well, you did great. You did great. Did better than me. Let's see. What else did we got?
You know who else lost their job, by the way? Did you
Who?
hear? This one was thanks to RFK Jr. Apparently, he fired Fauci's wife. What's her name?
yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Christine something, right?
Yeah. And big this whole side kerfuffle happening to do with that House Inhabit lady and the sexting scandal with RFK. Oh my gosh, that whole thing has just been grab 2 buckets of popcorn and sit and watch it go. I don't know if you guys are following any of that drama, but boy, that has been stupid.
Doesn't sound like my flavor of drama.
No, it's not. And people are worried that some of these sexting photos are going to be released. No one wants to see that. No thanks.
We have a Me Too with RFK Jr.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so convoluted. I don't even want to get into it, but it does.
Speaking of Me Too, how are we doing with the Epstein stuff? How's that the Fort Knox gold thing going? So many things just disappeared.
Dude, I was asking about that the other day. What the hell happened to it? Because it was so hyped up from Musk and Trump.
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
Now it's pretty quiet, isn't it?
We did not find the gold.
The last headline I saw on the second wave of Epstein files, AKA the second binder that's going to get handed to a dozen different influencers from Instagram. They were having to call in FBI agents and other intel agents from multiple jurisdictions to work full time to manage the redactions inside it. That's how that's going. It's held up in redaction. Are we surprised? No. Again, all you gotta do is find and replace certain countries' names and run a black bar over it. Doesn't sound like the hardest job in the world. And why are there so many redactions? I don't know. You know who else isn't ready for warfare is the UK. The UK. So there's a new report out saying that the UK is beginning to panic about its special relationship with the United States under Trump. The question arises about whether or not Britain has an independent nuclear deterrent. And after a closer inspection on the issue, it turns out the UK nuclear umbrella is anything but independent. So they say they're a nuclear superpower, but after this is Mark Felton writing, after a cursory examination of the claim, shows that it's far from an independent nuclear superpower, reliant on foreign manufactured and maintained missiles and worn out ballistic missile submarines that should have been replaced by new boats long ago. So
they should learn a thing or two from Iran. Apparently, they got everything just right going well over there, right?
Yeah. Maybe they should quit slapping tariffs and sanctions on Iran. Gosh. Yeah, so there's if that interests you, there's a video out there on YouTube. I'll link it in the
How much you want to
notes.
bet like everybody's bluffing and like nobody's ready except for one country that starts the letter I? It's not Iran.
Right. Right. Well, there was several very interesting discussions about the French connection to the Israeli undocumented nuclear weapons program there. You can find Freddie Ponton and Patrick Henningsen talking about that on his X channel. Shout out to our homies over at 21stcenturywire.com. Shout out to you watching out there on X. We're live on X, back on X. Very pleased to be back on X. We're on YouTube today, so shouts out to you on YouTube and Rumble and X. Those are where we are at tonight. This is the Boiler Room. It's April 3rd. We're in the final stretch of this live broadcast. We weren't able to join you last week. I apologize for that, but it's great to be here today. If you want to support us, we've got support links up on the website, alternatecurrentradio.com. You can find that in the main hamburger menu. And we would love it if you would help us keep these broadcasts going. So that is wonderful. What's going on with TikTok, Ruckus? What happened to the sale of TikTok, or the forced sale?
I don't know, but like everyone and their mother wants a piece of it now, I guess, including Amazon is the latest suitor, apparently.
Oh, boy. Well, I'm not surprised. I mean,
just like that makes sense.
Bezos has to compete with Musk, right? Musk bought something. He bought a shiny, expensive toy. So
he shifted over. Okay, we didn't talk about this. He shifted over the ownership of X to his AI company, XAI, and I think it was for $33 billion. 33, of course.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
That is crazy.
I mean, it makes sense, but at the same time, it's also a little concerning. But it's lining up with what he wanted to do, right? With this whole like all-in-one ecosystem.
Yeah, of
and now
course.
he wants to have AI as a top.
Well, we're waiting for the other shoe to drop, which is related to the digital money thing. So
yeah.
Yeah, and the digital ID, and maybe the Neuralink. We got Neuralink.
Oh, hey. It's almost like they're all interconnected.
Yeah, right. I'm seeing a pattern here. I'm seeing dots that need to be connected. But as far as Amazon goes, Amazon made a late bid to purchase TikTok. A person familiar with the ongoing White House-led decisions to identify a non-Chinese buyer for the social media app, said to NBC News. The bid's been reported by New York Times and blah, blah, blah. So
Anybody, as long as they're not China.
yeah, anybody other than China. But you may have to give China $30-some billion to make that happen. So there's that. TikTok's
Where's the far left people coming out making a bid for this? How come it's it's the same players, the same big tech,
right?
who are all up Trump's ass right now?
Right, and you would think that would be sort of the political side of the billionaire class that would want to take over that platform. But it's not looking that way. Like if you watch, if you're unfortunate enough to watch YouTube on a box that can't, get rid of the ads, or if you're not a member or whatever, there is a strong TikTok ad campaign going on YouTube right now. I mean, TikTok has so much momentum and has provided so much success for so many people. I just don't see it going away at this point. That it may change ownership. They're gonna find a way to make it keep ticking and talking. I think at this point, it almost looks like the ad campaign is so like grassroots America looking, the veneer on it, and they're actually real people that they're talking to that like can't have made their businesses successful by using TikTok to do so. It's a brilliant ad campaign. It's very simple, but it's brilliant in its simplicity. So I don't think it's going anywhere. I wouldn't be surprised if Bezos or someone.
Game theory this out. Who do you think is going to be the likely winner? Who's going to buy TikTok then?
I think Bezos is a perfect candidate.
You think so? Amazon might be doing it. What about that? What about the Rumble guy? Who's the guy who owns Rumble?
Oh yeah. I don't keep his name in my brain, but I know who you mean.
Chris something, right?
Yeah. I don't see Rumble buying them.
I don't know if they're that big a fish. Do they have that deep of pockets?
They've got.
I know
they got bigger pockets behind them. I believe, isn't Peter Thiel directly invested into Rumble? I think so.
I think so. I don't know to what percentage though. I don't know if he's like a board member or
part of a seed rounding or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it makes no difference. I mean, an American technocrat is probably going to get it, and it's probably not going to go anywhere, and a whole boatload of money is going to go to China. And I'm guessing they'll have some sort of residual, passive income from the sale too.
Now, granted, the usual troublemakers on the left have been busy with the burn Teslas to the ground campaign, or whatever they're calling it. They have a name for it, right?
Takedown.
Takedown. Okay.
Yeah.
Why? And they don't care. It's like nobody even knows why they're doing it anymore. They're like, well, I think it's because Elon did a Nazi salute or something. We don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, and then there's this giant contingency of people now that are saying, I think someone's actually paying those people to be there. Like that's actually encouraging.
Nonsense. That's never happened.
Yeah.
Never. Not even in close recent memory. Nope.
Can't tell you how many times we've been shunned for saying there's paid agitators here, guys. Oh, you're crazy. Now everybody's saying that. Welcome to the party, everybody. I guess
we better get credit, or we're gonna be upset.
We want an invite to Joe Rogan.
Bitch about it on X
first. Yeah, the cope.
You better shout us out on Joe Rogan.
Cope and cringe. Oh my gosh. Let's see what else we got. Mystical Pharaoh. Anything else you want to cover tonight?
I don't know. What else you guys have in your mind?
I got all kind of stuff. I think I spent my.
What's up with those astronauts, that returned to Earth?
Oh yeah. Yeah. They
look terribly healthy for being stuck up in space for so long.
They sure do. Their footage all looked weird too.
I like how the one lady had her hair dyed and had a suntan. How did that happen?
Right?
Yeah, they have tanning beds in space, dude.
Oh, of course.
Gotta have tanning beds in space, man. I mean,
spray tan.
What are we? Animals?
Spray tan.
Yeah.
Look at that.
There you go.
Down.
Hashtag.
Oh my God! What is this?
It's
AI generated
dance.
Yep.
This is the anti-Trump tariff TikTok dance.
Right. Oh, this one. Check this out, dude. This is a view from someone's balcony pool in Bangkok when they had that big earthquake. Watch this. This people are sitting on a floaty there on a skyscraper infinity pool, and you can just see the world start to shake, and all of a sudden there's waves in the pool. I mean, this is nuts, dude. I would never want to be on a rooftop pool when this happens.
No.
It's so crazy. Watch, this big pillow is gonna fall off the side. Oh my gosh, man. Ow, my neck. Are you out there? Did you feel the shaking going on? This was a big earthquake, guys.
He commented about this. People were asking him. He lives up in the mountains and he's totally fine. He said, I don't think he even felt anything.
Oh yeah. I saw his post on Facebook, actually. Yeah, I was glad to see he was up there in the bedrock area. There goes that that swim pillow over the falls.
I would not be in one of those pools, even if there is no earthquake. I just don't trust it.
I don't know. That's I don't know. That would affect my vertigo muscle for sure. So a 7.7 magnitude, if anyone missed this, a 7.7 magnitude earthquake struck near central Myanmar. And the destruction, some of the videos of the destruction are absolutely bonkers. Totally freaking bonkers. Let's see here. Okay. We kind of briefly mentioned sort of the influencers that have taken over, right? The You Are the Media folks. And there's a whole, there's a lot of feels going on about this out there. Ryan Dawson, we heard what you had to say. Whitney Webb, we heard what you had to say. Ian Carroll, Candace Owens, there's a whole our friend Johnny Vedmore weighed in on this. There's a whole like range of feelings going on about a lot of stuff in the truly independent media, as that group sort of is blending into like that, Joe Rogan, Candace Owens sort of visibility, and saying things on those platforms that a lot of guests, more mainstreamy sort of guests, and the hosts themselves wouldn't have been talking about just a few years ago. And I think there's everyone has some decent points. There's good reasons for skepticism and all this kind of stuff. But I love what Ian Smith had to say about the conservative movement and about conservative influencers, talking about that tier of people that get handed binders from the DOJ when they release heavily redacted stuff on Epstein, for example. Let me just read you guys this, and then we'll go around the room and see if there's anything else. I'll take your comments on it. But Ian Smith wrote the following on his social media. You guys are Mystical Pharaoh. You know who Ian Smith is?
Yeah. Just
Okay.
a busy building guy.
Yeah, the gym owner from
gym owner
New
guy,
Jersey who stood up. And this is a guy who gained social media popularity, as far as we can tell, similarly to, what's his face, Ian Carroll, that was on Rogan recently. He gained it by just doing what he does, and it worked. He reached social media escape velocity. So, he's had a lot of influencer types, interactions with them, and all this. I'll just read what he had to say here. He says, the conservative movement is being bought through their influencers. Most have no idea who's pulling the strings or how this works. So let's break it down in this thread. This all works through companies like Influenceable. They are not the only one, just the biggest. Essentially, it's a marketing and influence operation backed by political consultants, wealthy donors, and in some cases, foreign-aligned interests. And what is their goal? To manufacture support for certain agendas by paying your favorite influencers to push them. They're handing out money, scripts, and bullet points to social media personalities, political influencers, trad life accounts, meme pages, and patriotic content creators. These influencers then flood your feed with what looks like organic content, but behind the scenes, it's a carefully coordinated campaign, no less scripted than the mass the mainstream media they claim to fight against. I'm so trained to say mass media cartel, self-trained, that I can't even read MSM anymore. They post polished videos acting like it's just common sense conservatism while parroting the same talking points. Defend sending billions in foreign aid, attack Representative Thomas Massey for opposing it, defending junk food purchases under SNAP, justify endless military spending abroad. This isn't honest discourse. This is weaponized marketing sold as authenticity by some nerd without a real job yapping into his or her phone. Let's be honest. When we as conservatives start supporting government welfare expansion and blank checks to foreign governments, when was this? We didn't. But now some of the loudest voices in our space are getting paid to make it sound like we did. This is paid influence designed to redefine what it means to be America first, to swap out real conservative values for neocon talking points and foreign priorities. This is a psychological manipulation through TikTokers, podcasters, influencers, and meme accounts that many conservatives trust. They wave the flag, say, God bless America, and then cash the check. Multiple influencers posting nearly identical videos within hours. Same phrasing, same targets, same fake outrage, same low-hanging fruit, and never diving into real issues. This isn't a coincidence. It's coordinated narrative warfare. And the people funding it, they're the same old swamp. Think tank insiders, mega donors, foreign lobbies, and the DC machine. Influenceable has been linked to major GOP operatives like Brad Parscale and has received funding through groups like Defend Texas Liberty, all while quietly pushing influencers to shape public opinion around issues like foreign aid and political loyalty. They don't need to censor us anymore. They just buy the people we listen to and let them do the dirty work. And you're supposed to think it's grassroots. You're supposed to believe this is what conservatism is now, but it's not. It's controlled opposition in a MAGA hat. Last one. The conservative movement is under attack from the inside. This isn't just about policy. It's about ownership of the narrative. He's spot on. And the people who want to own it don't care about you, your family, or this country's future. They care about power. They care about money, and they're using your trust as leverage. Stay sharp, pay attention, call out the grift on all sides, because controlled opposition doesn't always come with a rainbow flag and a protest sign. Sometimes it looks like a clean-cut guy with a Bible in one hand and a camera in the other. But behind the camera is a paycheck and a script. So there you have it. Pretty stark condemnation of the influencer and ambassador culture that we're seeing take over right now, and being told that you are the media.
Yeah, he's spot on, and you know, even anybody with common sense have seen that a while back, right? I mean, I was saying earlier in the green room that I actually blocked a lot of those people because I noticed the same thing. It's like the same damn message. You know when they showed that montage of like CNN and MSNBC playing the same thing,
dude.
exactly the same damn thing.
I know where you're
And-
headed. Yep.
And so I start already blocking some of them. But it is true that you know it's, and sadly, like, I hate to say that, but a lot of the right wing people, they think they are not gullible, but they are actually as gullible as you know, the liberals that they they attack, and they fall under the same thing if you give them the right thing. And he mentioned the Bible, right? Because anybody with that image in their hand or give them a text, they will just, you know, accept and follow it. So I just posted a couple of links here to confirm what he's saying. One of them from Nick Sorter, right, about that campaign that they did about Coke.
Mm-hmm.
And he showed the same talking point from some of those accounts that I, you know, Clown World and Rick Doherty, and I think there's a couple of other snapshots.
Yeah. Not Jerome Powell and Ian
Yeah,
Chong.
and yeah, that dude that is not even American. He lives in
Ubiquitous.
Singapore or somewhere. Yeah.
Ian Miles Chong, ubiquitous.
Yeah. And then the second link is actually from WikiLeaks, and it talks about the same. It's showing the actually letter that was sent from Influenceable to
All right.
for that payment. So this was basically a paid campaign for them to attack when they came out about the soda purchase, and they did not want them to go ahead with this campaign. So they paid this influencer to attack that policy. So it's it's pretty like people. This is why you need to have critical thinking. You cannot just be a thumper for your team. Like this is like we have to stop this if we want to progress as a nation and actually want to like get out of the rut we're in right now. Is we need to stop this binary campaigns. We have to start thinking critically and just look at common sense. We need common sense, right? And we have to reduce our bias.
Yeah. Honest analysis. That's all we're asking for. You don't have to be right 100% of the time, but and you don't have to, not try to get paid for your efforts either. But there's clearly a not so fine line
Yeah.
between being a total asshole and a grifter and a cog in the machine.
Yeah, but they weaponize the same, tribal sense on the right
Yes.
as the mainstream media does as well, right?
Yep.
That's the whole idea. And
100%.
and we cannot function as a nation this way. We have to accept the fact that we have to compromise together. We have to find what, we have to live as a society. So we need to stop thinking binary.
Right. And these accounts, these people in these accounts, for those of you that are just listening and not reading this on the screen with us, they're offered up to $1,000 per post. Can you imagine like making 4 posts
Sign
in
me
a
up.
day and making $4,000 on them? Dude,
I know, right?
to lie for Coke on behalf of like a mega company. So MAGA influencers told their followers to stop RFK Jr. removing Coke and Pepsi from the U.S. food stamps program without disclosing that they were being paid by the PR firm Influenceable. Multiple X posts with nearly identical messaging emerged within 48 hours, as Nick Sordor exposed. The brief that Influenceable sent to participating accounts, which were offered up to $1,000 per post. It's got all the stipulations in here. It talks about their key messaging, their main objective, their key resources. Look, they will all have a picture of Trump drinking a Diet Coke because that's their marketing ploy here. They know that Donald Trump likes Diet Coke. Don't drink that stuff. It's not good for you. And, it's got a set of bullet points here. If you submit posts after the campaign deadline, it will still count as a misdeliverable. Misdeliverables are deducted from your base pay. It's very important that we have all deliverables so we can utilize this in our campaign overview. That's just one bullet out of a number of them here, telling their influencers exactly what they need to do and exactly what their talking points are.
Interesting that they're called bullet points, in particular in this situation, because we are engaged in 5th generation warfare. So whether these people are aware of it or not, they are unwitting soldiers in a information war. And it's interesting, too, that we refer to them as influencers. Hesher, you remember my old program, the Ruckus Room, right? Way back in the day?
Yep.
I had a number of audio clips that I included in my intro. One of them was a famous speech from JFK, but it also included a bit of a famous speech from one Dwight D. Eisenhower, who said, in the councils of a government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. And he was right. It's just that war, the military-industrial complex has completely changed, rebranded itself, and it looks a lot like one Mr. Elon Musk and his techno bros. Just wanted to bring that up because I find the correlation very fascinating. And 2 bullet points. That's an awfully. I always wondered why they were called bullet points. I thought, boy, that sounds dangerous, but I don't know. Maybe there's something to that. But thought I'd share that quote with you.
Yeah, that's a classic right there. So good work there, Ian Smith. Thanks for pointing that out. And this is a guy who's been offered these kind of things. You know what I mean? So And thanks to Nick Sortor and the researchers out there on X, we can see exactly how it works. We've got all the examples here of the tweets that Clown World and Eric Daughtry and Ian Chong and Not Jerome
Cat
Powell
turd,
put out.
I'm sure.
Every single one of them. Here, let me put them on the screen again. Every single one of them has completed the bullet points there. They've got the bullet points. They've got the picture of Donald Trump signing an executive order with a Diet Coke. Not Jerome Powell there.
You get $1,000. You
Yeah.
get $1,000. You get shadow banned and tariffed. You get $1,000 though.
On top of your base pay, you get $1,000 on top. Base pay. These MFers are making base pay for tweets from influencer and ambassador management companies that are funded by political activists, PACs, and foreign interests. Cool. That's great. Let's call it news. Not news.
You just love America.
Weaponized marketing is what Ian called it, and that is 100% true. Narrative management through weaponized marketing.
Marketing is just propaganda.
Yeah, in its purest form. Speaking of capitalism. All right, that's all I got for you guys. I'll go around the room here. Mystical Pharaoh, you first. Anything further you want to throw into tonight's topics, or anything other topics you want to throw in before we call it a show?
No, I think I'm okay. Thanks. It was a great show, and appreciate the discussion. I love that we have always different views, but that's what it's all about, right? Is that intellectual discussions that we have. So I appreciate everybody's opinion.
Absolutely. Now all three of us are going to tweet about this, and someone's going to give us $1,000. Not. We can't even get 1,000 views, much less like.
I know.
I'm trying to make $1,000 a month. Tell you what, that's rough.
Trying to money out of the matrix here, fiat out of the matrix, and these MFers are making $1,000 on top of their base just for cutting and pasting some talking points. Oh my goodness, what are we doing wrong, guys?
It's pretty crazy. But I know I haven't been doing the carpet ride the last few weeks, so apologies to all my listeners. It's been a little hectic on my side, but I'm gonna be live this Saturday, so I'm looking forward to talk with everybody.
Nice. All right.
And
I forgot to mention. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. Looking forward to the Infidels, Mysticals, the Mystical Magic Carpet Ride. We may have to rename that show to the Mystical.
I
Magic
already did.
Ride. Oh, nice. This 2 days ago was the 10-year anniversary of Boiler Room. So tonight is sort of our 10-year anniversary. We'll probably talk about it more next week. We'll be here next week. The week after next, though, Spore and I may not be able to be on air on Thursday, so we may have to do a Wednesday or a Friday show or something that week of the 15th, or I guess that would be the 17th. Show. So stay tuned. We'll keep you informed there. But yeah, I want to thank you guys and everyone else that has been on Boiler Room or contributed to Boiler Room. All those names I mentioned at the beginning and others who have supported us in the past. We wouldn't have been able to get into our 10-year anniversary without you. We really appreciate you. Badger, again, such a huge help and a good friend, a founding member here at ACR. Yeah, just we made it. Somehow we limped over the decade line here with Boiler Room Gang. So
that's pretty awesome, dude.
Yeah, it is awesome.
Congrats.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for all your time you've put in here.
I guess I've been here since 2016. So I joined maybe 9 years.
Yeah, man. Yep. OG at this point. Yeah. All right. Well, Mystical Pharaoh, we'll look forward to your DJ session on Saturday evening. So join us in our Discord if you want to get notifications about that, and follow Mystical Pharaoh on X. He'll put a notification up there when he goes live. And Mystical, it was great to have you here tonight.
Thanks. Great to have you, to be with you guys. Thank you so much.
All right. There he goes. Ruckus, over to you. Saved rounds, final thoughts for this Boiler Room.
I gave you a saved round.
All right, what do we got? I see the red bubble here.
More ways than one, actually.
All right. Oh, we even have a piece of media. Oh, I've seen this.
There's
All right.
no way we have to play this video on Boiler Room. This is
Uh,
class. This is gonna be classic right here.
yeah,
We're gonna look back on this at like top stories of 2025. Remember that crazy lady?
Yeah. All right. Here we go.
If you're struggling with your mental health, games can be a really great way to feel better. So I'm going to show you Super Mario Checkers and Cards Against Humanity. Let's just pull out a couple of pieces at random. Oh, look, it's Luigi. Everyone loves Luigi, right? We love Luigi. So let's pull out a question card here randomly. What makes life worth living? I'm going to get Luigi. Oh, he jumped there to hold on to that card. Let's see, picking out an answer again at random. Oh, what's this one? Oh, that's awful. That is awful. It's a joke game. It's comedy, right? It's not serious at all. Let's pick another card. I don't like that one at all. Let's see what this one has to say.
For the audio only listeners, the card answer read assassinating the president. Okay. Clearly we're seeing what she's saying with the Luigi reference here as well. Let's let her keep going.
Say, oh, that's terrible. That's just
Second answer, an M16 assault rifle. Oh, okay. You look like a gun grabbing lover. Apparently radicalization has occurred. Get her off my screen.
Clearly a mentally stable person. So many people tagged that tweet with the FBI. I think she's getting a visit.
Yeah, probably. I mean, those weren't cards grabbed
I
at
assume
random.
it's a she. I don't know. I'm not a biologist.
Yeah, the assumption's about as far as we can go with that one. Definitely. Whew.
Yeah, we still got the wacko left people doing that kind of thing in addition to the Tesla thing. So that was interesting. But unfortunately, it came from an account that could very well be guilty of doing some of those other things we were discussing about the
Right.
paid postings. And I'm sure you're probably going to see that tweet reposted 100 times from all of the blue check marks, all also tagging the FBI and Secret Service. Hey, yo, guys, get on. I'm sure they're on it. I'm sure they got the message.
Yeah,
So-
they do. They know the techniques of X bombing, where one of them will put the thing up and then they'll all repost it with a comment on it, and they kind of like pass the hot potato around and then boost each other. It's this whole like circle jerk feedback loop that
It's a
ends up.
valuable waste of, I mean, not a waste. We're trying to avoid. We don't want any unregretted user seconds or something.
Yes.
I forget how it works. Anyways, that's why I'm not good at the X game. I just go on there, post original, fresh, fun, interesting, informative, sometimes content, as well as links to my program and yours and other friends and colleagues of mine. But apparently, that's not what you're supposed to do on X. You're supposed to do the X bomb and repost everybody's stuff and say wow in response to someone else's tweet, I guess, whatever. So I don't know how to use X the right way. I use it the wrong way, which is why you should follow me, because it's kind of cool. I do fun stuff on X. I'm at AC_WordSlinger. That's where you'll find me doing my things when I'm not on air. I do guest host on usually Mondays, sometimes Wednesdays, for Weaponized News with Sam Chaney. I've been enjoying that. I, of course, show up on Thursday for the Boiler Room, and I occasionally help out Patrick Henningsen on Sunday Wire and his X Spaces. So plenty of Ruckus for you folks when you're not too busy checking me out on the Daily Ruckus. I should have some new episodes next week. Thanks for having me, Hesher. Congratulations on 10 years. Thank you to all the audience members. Special thank you to Badger as well. Thank you. God bless each and every one of us, and may God save this republic. Ruckus out.
All right. Thanks, Ruckus. Great having you today. Want to give a big shout out to the lovely Spore. Also, she's put so much into ACR and this program, and I know she's looking forward to getting back in here. We're upgrading her studio right now, so she will be periodically rejoining us in the boiler room here. So happy 10 years, Spore. Happy 10 years to all of you that have been with us on this journey. Trying to figure out how to protect ourselves from predatory mass media. Over all the years, we've come so far, and so many people out there have come so far. So, it's good to see. It's good to see. It's a tumultuous swim lane, surely, to be certain. Catch me on the Pulse. I'll see you over there, thepulse.today. Remember, noon. I'm live, noon Pacific, 2 Central, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Thepulse.today. Pulse Radio 2 is the button you click for the radio show. That's it for this episode of Boiler Room. We're signing out, and we will see you next week for another edition of Boiler Room.
That's it. Go ahead and run. Run home and cry to mama.